So mom is going to be your hand, your full 5 motion. Your thumb is going to tap your chin. So mom. Dad is the same thing, but now it's on your forehead. Dad. So you have mom and dad. And that's how it's going to be wise for any male or female family members. All the female are going to be around here. All the male are going to be up here. That's just kind of how they go. So then we have brother. We'll start with brother. So brother is going to be, you're almost got the little hand motion like this, and you're going to start here. Your other non-dominant hand's in the same motion. And you're going to go brother. Yeah. Brother. Yes. If you see it, so brother. It's not always, it's kind of however you feel most comfortable placing your hand on top of the other one. I always have it resting but on here, like this motion, where my thumb's still sticking out, but it's not sticking up. It's out. So like almost making an L, and then I rest. Yeah. I know, okay. It's very, yeah. So okay. Brother, yeah. Brother. Sister is going to be the same thing, but from your chin. Sister. Sometimes I'll kind of start with just it resting, like the pointer finger resting on my chin, and go like sister. I mean, most people, this is not one where, oh, no, you're saying like something completely different. Like, no, most of them, they're going to pick up, oh, because it's that double motion. So, sister. And then we have aunt and uncle. So aunt is going to be the A, and you're just going to kind of shake it next to your chin. So aunt. Uncle's going to be the U, and you're going to kind of shake it next to your up high. So uncle. Cousin is going to be a C. Now, if you're being specific on which cousin, boy cousin, girl cousin, if you're just kind of being basic about cousins, you kind of go almost for your ears and you go cousins. So that's kind of how they do that.
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
If I was going to say my cousin, Bill, then would you cousin and then just spell like?
Yes. So okay. You would start with like my cousin named Bill, and that's how you kind of go for it. Yes. Because it also helps with them identifying, you're talking about a boy or you're talking about a girl. That's kind of how I think that really helps, is when you start with that, because you can fingerspell a name, like if you fingerspelled Sam, okay, is it a boy? I mean, are they a boy? Are they a girl? And so if you're like my cousin, her name is Sam, it kind of helps that easy, like it takes away the extra time to have to spend, is she a boy or is she a girl? So, but that leads us into our sign for boy and girl. So boy is going to be boy. And it's like you're almost like tapping the cap of a baseball cap. And I think that's where they came from, boy. Girl is going to be your thumb. And it's going to go, it's like sideways brushing, almost kind of like mid-cheek to your chin. Girl. Mm-hmm. So boy and girl. Now, when you're saying son or daughter, for son, you do boy into baby. And so that's like that motion of like, this is my child. So, and then for girl, you do the same thing. Girl, baby. Okay, we're going to stop here. Come back. There are more, and I have them, and we are going to go over them. I do want to kind of go back because there are a lot. So, mom, dad. Have to always make sure I go through them right. Sister. Brother. Aunt. Uncle. Cousin. Either way, cousin. Girl. Boy. Son. And then daughter. Okay, so now we're going to go on to grandparents and I never write them fully down. If there's any more you guys would like to know, I can also give you those. Oh, step family. I can add that as well. So grandparents are actually really easy. You just kind of do the same motion like you do with mom or dad. So grandma is going to start with mom, and then you go out. So grandma. Some people just kind of do a double jump, like this is like grandma, and then grandpa. It is very funny watching some of these kids because they like to act like their grandparents are so old, and they go, my grandma, oh, grandma, great grandma. And it's so funny. I'm like, that's not right. And they're like, Oh, it's funny watching kids with signing because they play with it. They think it's like a game sometimes. And it's so funny because they will just create so many different things. And it cracks me up. So there are those. So when you're doing step family, what you do is you will fingerspell step. So you would go step, mom, step. Sorry, I do fingerspell fast. So step, mom, step, dad, step, sister. So that's what you do is you add that step in front of it. And that helps. If you were going to talk about your in-laws, like your son-in-law or your sister-in-law, anything like that, is you'll do the same motion of like son, or you do son or sister, whatever, son-in-law. So you have the L and you go tapping twice, top, bottom, law. So it's like you have your knuckles kind of tapping your palm. So law, yes. And this is the actual sign for law. Like if you're talking about a lawyer or, you need to follow the law. This is the law, is law. So, sister-in-law, some people do add the in, they'll fingerspell like in law. But a lot of times if you say sister-in-law, like I think they pick up on it. So, and if all else case, you can just say, no, like she's my sister, you can describe it. Sorry, I'm trying to figure out how to word it without becoming confusing, but I'm not good at shortening things like that. I just expand and keep going, and it's quite bad. All right, what else do we have? I think for granddaughter and grandson, it's the same thing of this, but I think you would almost add like the granddaughter. You almost kind of add the granddaughter, but I will check on that. I'm pretty sure that's how it is. No one's ever asked me about calling your grandchildren. They just always said children. The sign for children is it's very easy. It's just children. It's almost like you're patting their heads. Tap, tap, tap. Children. All right. So before we review, are there any more family signs I missed or you're curious about? Any questions? Oh, why did that happens. That happens like the same thing with Miss Katie in library. So the sign for family is you're going to start with your F's and you're going to go family. You start with them like the circles touching and you go family. So that's actually another sign that is one that uses the letter to describe it, because like the sign for class is the C, for team it's the T, group is the G. A lot of people just do this, but I've always thought this helps kind of differentiate, because your family and your soccer, your soccer team and your family, they're completely different people. Like that's not. And so I always felt like having that differentiation was very important. So family. All right. Any others? I'm hoping there's none that were super easy that I just completely forgot. I know. Have I showed y'all the sign for me, my, and mine? So there's me. So me's just pointing. My's tapping. Mine's the same way as mine. So mine, like my name, that book, mine. It's based on context. If you're using, because you're not going to say that book is my with the my. You're not going to say that. Or mine name. No, you're going to be like my name. So that's kind of an easy one. Okay. We will go back on family signs, the ones we've done, and then I will teach y'all a little more of descriptors as of like we, them, they, theirs, those kind of things. And then we'll do WH question words. And then I think that is good for today. So we'll go back with family. That was, we finished with aunt and uncle. We went to grandparents. Okay. So we have grandma, grandpa, and we have our step families. So our stepmom, stepdad, that. Then we have our sister-in-law. So in-law. And then we had, what do we have after that? Oh goodness. I'm going to not do the grandchildren one because I don't trust myself on that. I keep sitting here going, I don't think that's right, but I've never had assigned grandchildren. I'm too young to even have children at the moment. Like, I think we're not there yet. So children. And then we have family. And so with family, you're making a circle. So you're almost kind of like you start with your thumbs tapping, and then you end with your pinkies together. So family. And it's because you're showing this is my family. This is my family. So family. And then we had me, my, mine. Okay. So now we're going to move on to how you would describe he, she, they, them, theirs, hers, his. Very simple and very easy. A lot of them, especially for he and she, you do not have, there's not a specific sign for the difference between he and she. You just kind of point to them. So if you're talking about she is over there, she's standing there, what you would actually do is you would say like, you'd either go the girl, point to her, and that's kind of it, or you would describe her. So for like he or she, it's just pointing. He, she said, like I can't go play outside, that, so she. For their, like hers and his, it's like how we do with ours, like saying mine, my, but you'll go hers, his, theirs, like that. If you're doing a group of people and you're saying them, you would do a circular motion of this. So like them. And you want to make sure you're not including yourself because you're not a them. You are a we. And we're not there yet. So them. That group, them. They are here. So I always add sentences. If it throws you off and it's confusing when I start just signing, you can tell me to stop and I'll just only use the motion, but them. And then for theirs, you would do theirs. That's their work. It's not mine, it's their work. So for we, you will start, so I'll try to do right-handed to help. So you will start on your actual dominant, like side, and you'll go we. I'll slow down. It's like we. You're making a circular motion with your pointer finger until you're to the other side. We, because that's now including yourself. We are going outside. We are staying here. Those kind of things. If you're saying ours, that's our work. So our. I feel like I sound like a pirate when I say the R. I like my mind's like, am I saying R like sounding? It might sound like I'm adding a G there. So R. Okay. Are there any kind of questions you guys have about those kind of things? Or any pronouns? That's the word. That's what they're called. Pronouns. We don't always have to do too much in the sense of ASL with pronouns, which is kind of nice. It does kind of give that help of just being like, it's just them. That's it. So we'll move on now to the WH questions. And then at the end, we're going to kind of review, or if there's any other questions you guys have, we will get onto those. So the WH questions, and that's what how we actually say them, is the WH questions. There are, I believe, 5. I always count because I always add a few more that aren't actual WH, but they are questions you will have. Most commonly, you could probably use. So we'll start with who. So who, you're going to start with your thumb, pointer finger up, thumb on your chin, and you're going to bend your pointer finger. So who. And a lot of times you'll have that ooh, like your lips are kind of coming into the ending of that ooh, who. And one thing you really, oh yes, Teddy, sorry, I was about to get into this, but I look over and like, oh, he's got the eyebrows going. And that's because that was my next thing is you want to make sure when you're asking a question, if it's like not a yes or no question, your eyebrows need to be down. It looks like you're mad, but that's actually telling them that you are asking a question. Who? Oh, I know. It's very hard if you're not used to making facial expressions. You're having to be like, I'm having to emphasize, am I actually putting my eyebrows down? I had a few friends in class who were just like, I can't do that. It's too weird. So who? Then we have what? And what's going to be, your hands are going to be kind of just palms up. No serious position. It's just kind of like, you're going to go what? You'll just shake them gently. What? Like what? And then, and again, same thing with the eyebrows on what? Where? So where's going to be the pointer finger bent just slightly. You're not making an X, but you're just slightly bent. And you're going to go where? All right, good. And then we have when. Sorry, I have to go through them in my mind. When is going to be non-dominant hand's going to have a pointer. Dominant hand's going to start pointer and go in a circle around it. So circle around it. When. Some people will just kind of go when. I'm trying to show you that it is an actual circular motion. I apologize. Someone else just came in the house, so there's barking going on. But when. And then we have why. So why is kind of a one I personally think is kind of cool. You'll start with your fingers all at the top of your head, and you're going to pull them back into a Y. So like, I'll try to show you. So Y. It's kind of wonky, but Y. And it's almost like you don't have to move your hand, like just keeping it straight sideways. Y. And it comes in that motion. I just always thought that was cool because when our generation of texters, we always put Y instead of saying the actual WHY. And so seeing it as Y and sign was like, oh yes, there's that connection. So why? What? Then we have how. So how is going to have your hands into fists. You want your middle knuckle, like your middle, like not your actual where your fingernails are, and not the ones that are right here, but the middle ones. Sorry, I'm a teacher of elementary kids. I am not a whole medical person. Like, couldn't tell you anything about anatomy. I apologize. But you'll have those touching. So if you can see that, and you'll go how. So just shake one forward. Yes, how. And that's the same for going like, how are you? Like some people will go, how are you? And then how much? I don't think I showed the other class this, but how much? So how much is you're going to start kind of like in this, and you'll go, how much? And it's kind of, I guess, showing like money, because I don't know, I always think about throwing up money. How much money? How much is this? So how much? And then I think those are all the question words. Are there any question words I didn't say, or you're curious of how you would describe it? Anything like that? Or are we feeling pretty good? Want. Oh, okay. So that's a good one. Want. So the sign for want is you're going to start with your palms up. You're going to kind of have all your fingers in a slightly bent position. They're not fully bent. They're just slightly. And you're going to want. And you kind of are like closing them. Want. Yes. So like, I want ice cream. Want
chocolate.
Yes.
Is that right?
I want chocolate. Yes. I get so excited. I'm like, yes, create your sentences. Go for it. I support it. I'm doing it over here. I can't judge anybody. But yes, so want. Let's see. So I want to add one thing about the question words that I didn't say. It's super important. I can't believe I didn't think about it. Is when you're using a question word, you actually use it at the end of your sentence. So whereas when we are writing them, we say, where is the paper? in ASL, if you were to put that actually in written form, you would say paper where. If you're saying, what do you want for lunch? Lunch, you want what? So, for example, like paper, like where's the paper? So paper where. And the reason for that is that it tells the person you are talking to that you are having a question and that this is the type of question you're asking. And so instead of being like, where is the paper? And you're just ending on paper and they're like, I don't know what you said. It's you end with the where. And so, and again, it's very important with the facial expressions to have them down, because if you just kind of have them relaxed, where's like paper, where, it can get a little confusing. They might think, are you just telling me a sentence? Are you just telling me that you know that? I've had a few kids who will look at me and say that. And I'm like, are you asking me a question? Like, I literally look at them like, you asking me a question? And they're like, yes. And I'm like, well, fix your eyebrows. And they're like, paper, where? And I'm like, thank you. It's over there. So I'm a little bit of a sassy teacher. I just can't lie. I like to sass my kids because they need it. It helps them pick up on their realizing if they're having mistakes with that. So, oh, there's something that came with that I was going to say. So I said, so yes and no. I did not tell y'all yes and no. Those are some very basic ones I should have said. So the sign for yes is super easy. You're going to have a fist and then you're just going to bounce it like you're nodding. Yes. I mean, doesn't matter if you have the S, the A, it's just yes. I always kind of go with S, but that's just kind of that's how I feel comfortable. So like, yes. No is going to be, you'll start with the number 3. Your thumb's going to be forward and your 2 fingers are going to come down to no, no, no. And it's because you're getting that motion of like, that's in. So like ends into a no, no, to a 0. I meant, sorry. Oh, no, no. If you are asking a yes or no question, like, is it going to rain today? When you do those, your eyebrows go up. And that's, again, showing differentiation of that question is only going to need a yes or no answer. Whereas these are questions that you have to actually answer with something. So like school today, and you don't have anything that's like the, is it going to, will we, it's school today. You've taken that out and you're putting up the eyebrows like, yes, no, school today, homework today. I'm sorry, they're all related to school, but that's just how it is. So eyebrows up shows them that you are asking another question, but this time it's either a yes or no. All righty. So I think what we'll do now is we'll go over. Yes. So Ellie asked if you were talking about parts of your face, like eye, nose, etc. Would you just point your finger to it? Yes. So you would just kind of be like your nose. If all else was, if you really felt like that it wasn't, your point wasn't getting across, like you're talking about it, you could fingerspell lips or eyes. That's one of my favorite things about ASL is that if you're just not sure, you can just fingerspell it. And most of the time they're going to know it. They're going to be like, oh, I know what you're talking about. So, but yes. And that's kind of the same way for like arm. Yes.
What is thing or something? Like if you wanted to say you have something on your face or something's in my eye, what is, how do you?
So you would actually, so there's technically, that would be 2 different things you would do, is because if you're saying like, I need something for school, like I need something, that sign, like thing, like an actual thing is, let me pull this down just so you can see, is thing. You just have your palms up, thing, thing, thing. But if you're saying there's something on your face or something on your, shoulder, you probably, what you would do is like you would tap or get their attention. You'd be like, you just kind of do how you describe it when, usually you're not just like, oh, there's something on your face. Like, no, you're like, there's something on your face. Like you're always pointing. And so that's how you would do that. Okay. So if you're signing, I have to read it to myself because if I don't, I always feel like I'm going to answer it wrong. So whenever I'm signing and I make a mistake, I'm always a little dramatic about it, but that's just because that's how I am as a person. Is like if I'm fingerspelling and I'm fingerspelling wrong, I kind of do almost like a stop and I'll just kind of shake a little and then I'll do it again. I've seen some kids that will just be like, they'll stop and they'll like kind of go no, and they'll do it again. I have some that get so mad, they're like, no. And then they're like, and like you see them watching aggressively their hand motions. I'm like, okay, I got the word. I know what you're talking about. So a lot of times, like, and I cannot fingerspell to save my life sometimes. My hands move too fast. I'm a fast talker, so I'm a fast signer. But the problem is that I say I'm a fast signer, but what I mean is like I'm a fast mover. Like the signs aren't always right. The finger spelling is not always right. And so I have to stop myself and I'd have to go back and I'm always like, no, this word. I'm like, no. A lot of times I'll just go no, and then I'll spell it again. So very simple cues. A lot of times if you need to spell again, if all it says you go like no, or you want to say like that's wrong, you can go wrong. So wrong is a Y on your chin, wrong. Be like wrong and then spell again. So that's one way to help with like correcting yourself if you make a mistake, is just be like, no, fix that, things like that. All right. So are there any other signs you guys want to see or learn that we haven't done yet? I mean, we still got 5 more classes of signs, but if there's something that's just like, I want to know the sign like now, I needed it like last week and I want it now. Any of those kinds, I mean, or just curious questions, I'm always happy to answer questions. I am a chatterbox, so I know I take up the time talking, but I guess that's technically what I'm getting paid to do, is to just talk to you guys and show you signs. So, but any signs that are just you're really curious about or confused on, anything, if you feel good, you can just stick a thumbs up so I know. Perfect. All right, awesome.
What's hot?
Oh, so I can show you the sign for hot and cold. Here, let me, Ellie did ask one about asking questions. And so for asking question, like if you're asking, saying asking, there are 2 ways to sign the word ask. One is like if you're asking for help, like please, like, are asking like, I need you to help me with something. You're like, I have to ask you something, is ask, like ask. Go ask her to help you. Go ask her for this. Now, if you're like asking questions, like actually I'm like questioning, like having questions, is you probably see me doing it, is you kind of just do this, questions. And so a lot of times if my kids, there's too many of them asking questions, I'll be like, you're asking me questions, just wait. So questions. So, and Ellie, if I'm not explaining the ones that you were actually talking about, please let me know and I will try to find. Sometimes I misunderstand and it happens. So I'm human. So please let me know if I'm not answering it right or if you're still confused. But so a lot of times when you're asking like different questions, like I have to ask you questions, or a lot of times if I'm asking a question to a kid to add just to make sure they understand, especially with the face masks, is I'll go like this at the end, ask you. Like, where's your book? Like your book is where? Like where? Or, well, usually the WH you can end with that. But like, do you have work or paper? And then I'll end with this, like question. So when you're asking things like, where's the restroom? Oh, I never got to show you the sign for restroom. I'm sorry. I always forget. One day I'm going to have like a clear cut sign of all the words so I don't do this, but I get so off. So the sign for restroom, there's technically 2 signs. There's one for bathroom and then restroom. Most people I've seen use the sign for bathroom. I don't really see many people using the sign for restroom. I feel like it's almost like, how when we say fancier words in English, I can't even think of one, but like trying to almost sound like, that's how I kind of get with the sign for restroom. So the sign for bathroom is you make a T and you're going to shake it back and forth. And so this is bathroom. And I have one of my college ASL professors told me that this sign was always a little more immature because the reason they have a T is it's supposed to be the sign like meaning of toilet. So toilet, like, but that's what everybody signs. So the sign for restroom is you're going to have the R and you're going to go restroom. You just tap restroom. If you were going to ask something about like where a location is, the nice thing about it is all you got to do is sign like bathroom, where, school, where. You don't have to worry about the is, the does. It's just point blank. School, where? So bathroom, where? Ice cream place, where? Those kinds of things. And so that's kind of, I like that about ASL, is that it's just to the point. You don't have to have those is's and r's and these and those. I'm like, no, just where's school? Where's the school? And that's it. All right. Any more questions? Miss Catherine, you said you had a question, and then I saw Ellie's questions and I did not get to answer yours. What was your question again? I'm so sorry.
That's okay. It was just hot and cold. Like it's hot, it's cold.
So if you're describing that you're hot or something's hot food wise, is you'll start like this and you'll go hot, hot, hot. It's like you have almost like a slightly open palm. Hot, hot. So that's like if you're saying like it's hot, or so a lot of times I'll see, you'll see hot. So hot. If you're saying like that's hot chocolate, hot food, like it's hot. And it's I think it's from the motion of like, especially for like hot food, it's like, when you do like it's coming out of your mouth. Cold is cold. So if you're like, it's cold, cold, and you almost want to get animated with it. You don't want to be just like cold. It's like, then they're like, oh, so you're fine, really. It's just a little chill. But no, when you're like, cold.
I have really loved learning ASL because I feel like I get to ham it up, and there's a purpose.
Yes.
So I like that.
What
do you do? How do you tell your kids like there's going to be a storm or?
So a lot of times for me is what I'll do is I'll just say the words like bad weather. And then if they're actually curious, then I'll start describing it. A lot of times I do use pictures because the kids I have are those who are even farther delayed. And that was just this past year because, as a new teacher, you get the hardest class. And so I had kids who were very severely like language delayed, which meant that they may not always understand spelling as much. They struggle with spelling, reading, writing, all of those. So it's not as easy where I can just kind of finger spell words because I'm still learning ASL as well, in the sense of picking up on signs. Like I can communicate just fine with my coworkers, my students, but there are still some signs that like I just don't know. And so when I'm with like adults, I can finger spell it and they know what I'm talking about. We can move on. But with especially like my kids, I stop and I think, oh, you're not going to understand that. So a lot of times I do use pictures, but I'll be like, bad weather. Oh. And so, so sorry.
Can't even do that one right now.
So like that is so far ahead right now. I'm here and you're over here. Let's come back here. Yes. Oh, I understand. But Miss Katie she already got 8 classes under her belt. So she's like, all right, what's the other questions I got? So, but yes. And a lot of times I will, like if I'm talking about like rain, weather signs, like, and the thing that's nice about like with rain is like rain, it's rain. And then you have like snow and you have like lightning, and thunder always cracks me up. Thunder, I cannot lie, cracks me up because it's thunder.
That's awesome.
Thunder. And I every time I see it, I die. I'm like, oh my gosh, what is this? Like, so, but you have like rain. So I'd be like,
I love it.
You really animate yourself. And I always loved it. I've always been good at facial expressions. Like my mom used to say, like, they knew when I was mad, happy, sad, or whatever, because I showed it on my face. Mm-hmm. So, but like when it's talking about rain.
In the last session, Jillian showed us Cat. I made everybody at the library watch me sign Cat. Like I was just thrilled with it. Like I just like this cat, the whiskers.
I always love that one.
It's so fun.
One of my friends used to add catfish, and she would go catfish. She just thought it was so fun to do that. She'd go catfish. She'd look at me. We'd be in our other classes, like our math class, and she'd just look at me from a distance and go, catfish. And like, everybody be going, what are you saying? What are you saying? And she goes, it's a secret. And I would just start laughing because I'm like, that's not a secret. You're literally saying just cat and fish. Like, but she's like, no, catfish. So, But yes, that's one of the things I love about ASL is those facial expressions. You can really have fun with them. Like it almost brings out the inner child in you. You don't have to be so professional and strict because you are being professional when you're using signs, and you're actually being professional when you're using facial expressions. If you don't use them, you're not going to get your point across as much as you thought. It's like how we use our voice, the way we change our voice when we're talking to kids and we're talking to adults, and how when we're saying, can I have some ice cream? And you're like, can I? It's but it's the same thing, but instead of using our voices, we use our hands. And so it's very
Well, that makes
similar.
sense. That makes sense because you see the interpreters on TV and things, and they're very animated, right?
Yes.
So, yeah.
You want that. You want that. I love
Right.
Everyone will always ask me, what are they saying? Because anybody who now, like, once they realize, oh, you work, like, you sign, they're like, if I see anything, I'm going to tell you. I'm going to send it to you. I'm going to say, hey, I saw this. Who are they? What are they saying? What's this? So, but yes, like, the interpreters aren't just being animated just for fun and, getting the light on them. No, like, they're actually, that's something they need to do to help get the conversation and the point across, because ASL is just so visual. I mean, there are signs or there are words that you just can't describe. Like, there's just not, like, can't sign. There's not a specific sign. So you have to describe, like, playground. Playground's kind of similar because it's play area, but there are other words that you're like, you just can't describe, like, can't sign, like, have a straight sign for that. You have to what's called elaborate on it, and you have to, like, expand. Like, this is time for, like, expand. Like, what I always say all the time, because this is me, I'm constantly over explaining things, but you have to go into it and you have to explain it because there's just not a sign for it, and a sign wouldn't always, like, help describe it enough anyway, so you do need to describe it. And there are some signs in ASL that it's kind of hard to explain in English. And I remember when I first heard that, I thought, that's wild. Like, how does that make sense? Like, that has no, it just threw me off. But then I saw a few of the signs and I was like, what does that mean? And I'll see my coworkers half of my coworkers are born, like, they are deaf. And so they've used ASL all their life, and they look at me and they're like, trying to explain it. And then they just look at me and they're like, so it's like this word. Okay. And I'm like, okay, I picked up enough on it. So one of the ones I think is cool is, like, for, like, almost saying, like, something is so delicious, so good, or this was so awesome, is they'll do what's called a kiss fist. And it's like that. And I'm still not always for, like, I don't use it because it's such an ASL, like, sign, like a deaf culture sign, that I'm just like, I don't know if I'm even using it properly. But I've seen, like, teachers will say it, like, students will say it, and I just think it's cool that there are actual signs that just you cannot really put into a word in English. I'm like, yes, let's do that. That's cool. So, but I know we are now at the 6:31 timer. If there's any more questions you guys have or anything, and also just for y'all's sake, if you ever have the thing where you're like, I have to get off at 6:30 and I'm still talking, I won't get offended at all if you have to leave. I talk all the time. I mean, my friends literally, they interrupt me to tell me their stuff. And, like, I remember one of my friends saw, like, one of my newer friends, a group of newer friends met one of my oldest friends. And my oldest friends kept interrupting me every now and then just to get her 2 cents in. And my newer friends just kept looking at her, like, just kept interrupting. And I just kept going with it. I was like, all right, done. All right, now I come back. And I had to explain, I'm like, no, she knows. Like, that's exactly what I need. If you keep waiting and waiting for a break, you're never going to have a break. So you just disconnect. I'm like, all right, we're good. You can say a little message of, I got to go, but I will not be offended. I don't get offended easily like that. So please don't ever feel bad for that. I just want to make sure, because I always feel bad when I interrupt people, but that's because I talk a lot. So I always have a chance to talk. So I feel bad when I take other people's space. So are there any questions you guys have? I mean, it doesn't have to be just to the signs we learned. It could be ASL in general, deaf culture. I mean, again, like I said, I'm happy to answer questions or find people who know the answer to questions, because I'm not obviously going to know everything. Contrary to y'all's probably beliefs of me being just that person. But so.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well,
Yeah.
close. So you have good.
Oh,
Thank
oh,
you.
thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. So when
Thank
you add that bottom palm, you're saying
That's good.
When you do
Okay.
this, thank
All right.
you. Thank you. Yes, but you were close.
Okay,
I give
that's
you-
what I did.
I give you an A- for effort. That minus is just for something good.
Thank
But
you.
yes. All right. Well, I guess
gotta
I will
run.
see you guys next week. I'm going to try to create another video. I'm hoping it'll be a little bit smoother because the other one was giving me so much trouble trying to condense it and compress it because I was doing it on my iPad because that's easier to upload, but my iPad was like, no, we're not going to make it any smaller. So I'm going to try to work with it and work the system, and I will send that off. And so, but I know you guys just got the other two yesterday, so you guys will have time to practice those. But all right, well, I guess I'll see you guys next week. Y'all
Okay.
have a good rest of y'all's week. Bye.